Hello, Will Perry here. How the devil are you? I hope you are well. This is a big one. It's going to be bigger than my normal. You'll see how long it is on the bar down there. But yeah, this is bigger than I normally do. Normally I take sections of this subject and chunk it down for you so it's digestible and not too long so you'll stick with it. So this is really big. This shows how all the different areas interlink, and particularly about narcissism, emotional abuse, and how they're linked together through low self-esteem or through our self-esteem. So this is a really big one, shows how it all interconnects, not all of it, the stuff that I can't include, but ask me questions, ask me to go into detail, challenge me on some of this stuff. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I hope this really helps you. Okay, so I want to get the discussion. Please help me share this stuff because not enough people talk about this, particularly about what we can do if we are, the victim being emotionally abused, what we can do about this situation, because we can't change other people. And calling them names, calling them narcissists doesn't help. Don't call a narcissist, because it helps your understanding to label them to yourself as that, but don't call them out as that, because it goes wrong. It doesn't help. They will turn it on you. They'll play the victim and they'll call you the narcissist, and that things get just so tricky and difficult. But anyway, let's carry on. Loads to cover. In fact, what we're going to cover: the definition of emotional abuse, the examples of emotional abuse, the effects of emotional abuse, how to recognize if you are being emotionally abused, the help and support that you can get, setting boundaries and the importance of setting boundaries and healthy self-esteem, and then the resources available to you. So I've got links down below in the description to all the stuff that I'm going to mention. So this is what we're going to cover. I'm going to do it by going, first, let's look at the definition. So definition of emotional abuse is a form of control and manipulation, power and control and manipulation, not including physical aggression, not including physical coercion. So anything other is verbal and non-verbal, but just not physical. So when things get physical, when you're being pulled about, that goes into physical abuse. This emotional abuse always precedes physical abuse and sexual abuse, but it doesn't always lead to it. So whenever there's physical or sexual abuse, there is always emotional abuse, but it doesn't always link to the other two forms. And it's non-gender specific. So I've put this, the classic, the man being the abuser, but it works both ways. And the stats still show that it's probably 50-50, but we report more women report more as being in the situation of being emotionally abused and physically abused and sexually abused than men. But that's more about the reporting. It's suspected, but the hard evidence isn't there. So any kind of abuse is around control and manipulation from one person to another, and it's generally in controlling relationships. So, not generally in controlling relationships. Controlling relationships happen when there's a commitment. So generally in a partnership, when you've given beyond the honeymoon phase, that honeymoon phase, oh my gosh, why would you go into an emotionally abusive relationship where you wouldn't? The reason you join and think this person is the best thing since sliced bread is because they're so amazing, they're so wonderful. You put them on a pedestal, and that's a red flag. Don't put anybody on a pedestal. You could admire them, but not too much, because if you put them on a pedestal, guess where you are? You're not good enough. You're not worth. Anyway, more of that in a minute. But we put them on a pedestal, and that's not a healthy thing to do. But when there is a commitment, so in a relationship, let's move in together, let's have a baby, let's get married, let's, whatever it is, when there's a commitment, often people who are in this situation, emotionally abusive situations, say, my God, he changed or she changed overnight. It was boom, something, and it's suddenly I saw their eyes change, literally, their eyes changed and everything, demeanor changed, what they were saying changed. It's because they've got you. They've hooked you in. So once there's a hook, once you're hooked in, that's when this control and manipulation starts. But of course it starts before then, because they're sussing you out. Their radar are going. They've found you and they need to hook you in. Right, okay, more of that. So that's the definition. Next, examples. I'm going to run through quite a few examples of this. Crazy making, sometimes called gaslighting, sometimes called head-ing by American psychologists. Lovely name. So this is when, you feel like you're going crazy, and then they can say, when they do it enough, they can go, You see, you're the crazy one. You're the one. You're so unstable. You need to get help. You need to get support because of the things they'll do. They're looking fine, but they'll keep twisting stuff. I never said that. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. What? Why do you keep doing this to me? Why do you? They keep trying things. And saying things and saying it, and some abusers are different. They can change on a sixpence, which means one sentence ago they said that, and then you just say, then the next sentence they say something different, and you go, just a minute, you just contradicted yourself. You said that, and then they, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? I think you're crazy. It's like, what? No, you definitely said that. You said 2 minutes ago you said that. I didn't. What are you talking about? Oh, is it me? Is it me? And of course, a victim is prone, is prone to questioning and doubting themselves. So it's perfect. So subtle. It can be so subtle. Crazy making can happen in lots of different ways. There's things to cover, so I don't want to go on too much. But crazy making, when they just make you start to doubt yourself, start to question your own sanity, or indeed reality itself, your perception, your perception of other people, friends, family. It's like, God, did they? I didn't. Didn't you notice? What, you think you're emotional? You're an empath. You didn't even notice that. Oh God, I didn't. Jeez. It can be really insidious and horrible. Right, next one, minimizing. Making your emotions, the impact something's had on you, the importance of something to you, smaller. Making it smaller, controlling it. They might say things like, gosh, you get so sensitive. You're too sensitive. You're too, that's not that important. It's not, that's nothing to get upset about. Why do you get upset about that? That's nothing. They could just compartmentalize it and go, they could just make things small. Why are you always crying? Why do you always get so emotional? You're just too emotional. You're overthinking. You're over this. You're over that. It's not a big problem. It's not a problem. But sometimes, we can worry about things and other people don't worry about things, but they'll get what you want and they won't validate it. You won't get the validation acknowledgement for something, and that something is, how you're feeling. No, you're not feeling that. You're just getting upset. They can minimize you. They can minimize your feelings, the value of something that's to you. That's nothing. That's not emotional to you. That object, that doesn't mean it. It's just a bit of old tat. Chuck it away. And they chuck it away. Minimizing, horrid thing. Withholding. This can be withholding of finances, withholding information, withholding bodily contact, withholding sex. That's what I'm thinking. Withholding affection, withholding something. Oh, we really need to talk about this. This holiday with this money, this booking this thing. We need to talk about this. We need to, they're starting to. I'm starting to get emails about it. We need to do. Yeah. All right. When I'm ready. Why do you keep hassling me? Stop it. Stop hassling. I'll do it when I'm ready. I haven't got time now. What? Do you want me to drop this? Do you want me? It doesn't have to be raised voice or talking quickly. I'm just talking quickly because I've got a lot to cover. But they have the control. They will take the control and they will say, when I'm ready, I will talk about it. I will introduce it. You don't introduce it. I introduce it. Withholding. And it can be withholding affection, but cold treatment. But it can be in bed. It can be withholding that affection, that validation that is perfectly normal and we all get through physical contact, through intimacy. They can withhold that for months, for years, to the point that it's used as a weapon against you. And it can be your fault. It's just, everything's twisted and it's very tricky. Isolation is just a perfect one. Generally, when there's a change and they've hooked you in, that noise comes, isolation happens very quickly. Very often they are Prince Charming. They involve themselves very much in the family. They get the validation from the family. Oh, marry him. He's perfect. Oh, you're so lucky. You are so lucky. He's amazing. Once the narcissist gets that confirmation, that validation, Mum likes you. She thinks you're really nice. Oh, that's nice. Everything seems amazing. Then, they've hooked you. They've caught you in. Then they start feeding in this stuff that's really insidious and nasty, and but makes you question. God, your mum's aggressive, passive aggressive towards you. Do you not realise? Why don't you stick up for yourself? Oh God, she is, isn't she? I need to stick up for myself. Let's not have her. Make her stand. Let's not have her this weekend. Let's not do that. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So they put these seeds in your head, and then you start to take this action, standing up for yourself. But what you're actually doing is isolating yourself, and you don't realize what you've done until you've got this tower, a wall around you where you're isolated from your friends, your family, your support structure. So with family, that's one way of doing it. With friends, they can do it. Why are you going out with so and so? They always take the piss out of you. I tell you what, I'm going to cancel. Yeah, good for you. That can feel like support. However, it isolates you over time. It's horrible, and it's so common with emotional abuse. Narcissists do it. Dominating is where the power differentials are way out, so that you as the victim don't have the power. They have the power, but you give it to them. And I'll talk about this later, but they can say it doesn't. Dominating doesn't have to be aggression. That's the next one. This can be dominating over you. I'm just trying to help you, and you throw it right back in my face. Why do you always do that? Throw it right back and, oh, I'm sorry. Do you find yourself saying sorry a lot? So dominating over, taking the control, it's a bit like withholding, taking the control, trying to help, making you feel bad after something. So how can they turn something around where you were helping them to the fact that you feel bad and you're apologizing to them, and it's part of crazy making? It all kind of, but can you see I'm breaking it down so it helps? Dominating in so many different ways, taking the control, that's kind of withholding, taking the control to say, I'm the better one, I know this I'm the expert. Well, do you want to do it then? If you're such an expert, do you want to do it? No, I didn't mean that. I didn't, God, are you walking on eggshells? I'll mention that later as well. So all these different ways are compounded, and it's like, gets you, they've got the power and you don't. It's tricky. It's horrid stuff. Now, aggression is just before it gets into the physical stuff. He put the fist right up in my face, but he never hurt me. He never hit me. He held me up by there, but he didn't hurt me. He didn't punch me. I can get so close to physical abuse, but just backs off. I made him cross. It's like, bollocks, did you? Excuse me, but come on. Why does somebody have to get so cross that they, wave their fist in your face? And believe me, we all get cross. It's a human trait, but what's the pattern? Is there a pattern of it? Is there a pattern of dominance and control, power and control? Where's the power? Are they using that aggression to get you to back down? It's all about hooking you in. It's all about, getting you to be compliant. And aggression is one form sometimes, and they dominate over you. Another one is fear, either a fear of aggression or fear of, and this is the walking on eggshells bit, but if you know that expression, it's really, really prevalent within emotional abuse. Fear that they are going to do something, they're going to embarrass you, humiliate you, that they're going to tell a lie about you, that they're going to tell a truth about you, something very personal. That they're going to threaten you somehow to get that power over you, to manipulate you, to control you, to get you to not do something, to get you to do something. Fear of a repercussion of something happening as a result of what they're going to do. And that hangs over you. I've got examples of, when they threaten to kill a cat, an animal, hurt a child, horrid stuff. You can't believe somebody could be so capable of it, but narcissists can be, and there's a grey scale of how severe the narcissist is and everything like that. And it's just judging through experience where they are on the grey scale. Maybe that's where I could help. Jealousy is a great one. Jealousy in terms of narcissists can be very insecure, very jealous. So again, walking on eggshells so as not to make them jealous. But, if they start playing the jealousy stuff on you, that, who's that text from? You keep texting. Is that Jeremy? Are you texting him again? Because if I find out that, no. Is Jeremy going to be there when you go out tonight? I know of one client who had a phone. She had a phone on her side, and he came and drew round it in marker pen. So she didn't touch her phone. She wasn't allowed to touch her phone. Power and control. Wasn't allowed to touch her phone. And she was drying her hair, and the cable went across. Oh, shit! And she was fearful because the phone. Makes me emotional because I'm such an empath. The phone, the cable from their hairdryer touched the phone, and the phone came out and smudged the bit a bit, and it was like in panic to try and get the phone back in there without him noticing, but it smudged it, and it's like, and then he did, and then almighty shit went down, and horrid stuff, you know, and he was physical. It's always there if it's physical, all right? It always precedes and is there. Emotional abuse is always there if it's physical as well, but it doesn't always mean physical, but it could be a threat of it. But jealousy led to that situation, and it's just horrid. And you might be there going, what? There's nothing, and there is nothing, you know. Yeah, look at my phone if you want. And they have to check the phone, or they have to text every 20 minutes to see where you are on a night out. They're just like, pfft. But would you admit it to your friends? No. Would they say you're crazy? What the hell's going on? Yes. So you keep it from them. You keep the inquisition down because you know he'll get mad if you tell him that they know, and you know, oh, it's crazy stuff. Okay, so now a bit about the effects on you, the victim, about this stuff. So I'm going to have to go quick because this is taking too long. So self-esteem. You'll have low self-esteem already if you're in this situation, and it's going to compound it, make it worse. You're going to feel worse about yourself. You're going to be less confident. You're going to be down on yourself. Your negative thoughts are going to be there. Your feelings, depression, anxiety. You know, it's going here. Depression, anxiety, stress. All these things are going to increase over time, very gradually, perhaps, so you don't notice it because you're used to it already. And if I said to a client at the beginning, are you used to these things? No, they're okay. But once I start exploring and unpacking, they're working on a high level of stress or anxiety and depression. Ping, 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 all the time. Their system is under stress, and it's so consistent and constant that they call it normal and they don't notice it anymore. But stress is high, and that's when it can start having physical symptoms. So skin issues, gut issues, headaches, you know, tension, all sorts of physicalities, you know, physical issues come from stress. And we know that these days. There's tons of like research done into that how mental stress can cause physical distress. So obviously we're going to have, depending on the individual, but low self-esteem perhaps links with trust issues quite nicely, as you probably know. So it compounds the trust issues. So we're going to trust other people that, you know, we're going to have trust issues. We could link to post-traumatic stress disorder through this. So disorder, you know, it's distress, disorder through this. But who would point the finger at this? You know, because you're going to say, you know, your partner is the most amazing thing. You know, I'm so lucky to have them. I put them on a pedestal, which is wrong. But you're misguided in your perception. So you won't point the finger at them or you for attracting they can't be a narcissist. They're not. If anybody's, I'm probably a narcissist. You know, I'm you know, too down on yourself. And this can link to substance abuse, addictions. So we can get addicted to a type of behavior that makes us feel better in the short term, but has damaging effects in the long term. It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be, you know, smoking, it could be gambling, it could be porn, it could be shopping, it could be eating, it could be emotional eating, it could be so many different things, and then it compounds. You know, emotional eating, you know, it feels good at the minute, the grab bag, the cookies, but we look at ourselves in the mirror and we feel bad, and we go, why do I do that? And then you get slated by your partner. You feel awful, but you think it's you because you think it's something you've done, not that they're bad, but they're right, and you are bad. You're right about that as well, and you reach out for something that's going to make you feel better, whatever that behavior is, and you repeat that behavior, and then it compounds and makes you feel worse. I mean, I think you understand that. It's just devastating, this stuff, about where it can go. So what we're going to cover next, how to recognize this, how to recognize if you're in an emotionally abusive relationship. Right, please, please don't underestimate this stuff. This stuff is so insidious. It's so normalized in our culture, in our society or Western society, that we don't notice it. Maybe we notice narcissism more, ping, 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 get rid of, avoid, you know, get away from. But actually, why are they coming closer? Oh no, they're not. We are attracted to them magnetically. So it's like, what I want to really get through to you is that who we are, what responsibility we have for attracting these narcissists. We're magnets to narcissists. You know, not boing, yeah. So please don't underestimate this stuff. So are you confused about your relationship or the past relationships? How did you allow yourself to be hit? Oh, making me think about that example again. Oh, getting emotional. I know a lady call her the scaffold pole lady because her partner was a scaffolder and he hit her with a scaffold pole. He chased her and he hit her, and she knew he was coming because his brother phoned and said, "You better look out, he's on his way. He's going to find it," because he was jealous, he was insecure, he was a narcissist, he was a nasty piece of work, and he hit her. Hit her with, but I've countless cases of this. Are you confused about how you ever let yourself get into this situation? You know you're a nice person. How did you let somebody treat you like that? Are you isolated? Are you very controlled about who you see, when you see, and do you feel free? No. Do you feel isolated? So this expression, walking on eggshells, can you relate to that? Were you perhaps brought up in an environment where with one parent you had to tread carefully, particularly alcoholism, but it could be just narcissists. You had to tread carefully with their moods. Don't wake the monster, because something could happen if, oh God, you're going to get it. So we walk on eggshells in narcissistic relationships, in abuse, emotionally abusive relationships, walking on eggshells, treading carefully, apologizing too much. Do you say sorry too much? Now, somebody that's very agreeable will say sorry a lot, sorry, oh, yep, oh, sorry, can I have that? Sorry, can I have that? Sorry. And that's lovely and endearing. But in a relationship, are you saying sorry for stuff that's not your fault? Are you accepting responsibility for the stuff that's wrong, that wasn't your doing, that wasn't anything to do with you, but you're still taking that responsibility? Are you saying sorry too much? Sorry. That's an indicator. Are you stressed by the relationship versus feeling empowered and understood? That's quite a clear thing. You should feel understood, even if there's disagreements. You should, in a healthy relationship, you find a way of resolving it and getting through it. Or do you feel stressed by it because you're walking on eggshells, you're saying sorry too much, you're isolated, confused? Please don't underestimate this stuff. Do you let them have the final say just because it's easier? Just because it's like, oh God, I can't be hassled with an argument tonight, or maybe you don't argue. Maybe it's just one of those relationships where you don't argue. I've had relationships where there's arguments on a sixpence, and relationships where there's no arguments, but all of this stuff existed still. So it's not necessarily that it's volatile, because that's part of a personality trait, the volatility. So maybe it's not volatile, but there's moods, and you're very aware. You can feel the mood. Oh, now's not the time to mention that. You can sense this stuff because you're very attuned to emotions, particularly if you're highly agreeable. You're very attuned to emotions, so you can sense when it's a good time, it's not a good time. Oh, I'll try and make you shot down. So you probably understand that. So do you just let them have the final say? Do you give your power over too willingly? Okay. So how to recognize the continuation of this. This will challenge your perceptions. If you start looking into this and start thinking, holy crap, have I got myself into this sort of situation? Is this me? And maybe a friend's given you this link to this video, or maybe you're watching it for the first time just because, anyway, whatever brought you to this video. If you're going to explore whether you're in this kind of relationship, probably you think they're the best thing since sliced bread, so how is this relevant to you? Probably you think they're better than you. Probably you think they're smarter than you. Probably you think you're not good enough anyway. Probably you make a ton of mistakes. Always, it's going to really challenge your perceptions to look at this in a new way. Our perceptions are given from strong, solid beliefs that are like stone, granite, which is a very strong stone, and it's like that foundation of who we are, of what we believe. And you're going to have to question that and some of that and more of that if you're really going to go down this route. And if it starts opening stuff to, it's like, oh God, you don't like that, it's like, oh, maybe I should everything's all right, when it's not, and it's not. But that's a horrible thing. So this is definitely going to challenge your perceptions. And some people just ignoring. Did you used to do? I used to do this with my sister. La la la, not listening. La la, I can't hear you. No, sorry, I can't hear you. I can't. La 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 la. And we do that as adults because we don't know what to do. And if we were asked, like in therapy or something, if we were asked, that would be, I'd cry straight away with that sort of stuff. I do that sort of stuff, and it's emotion, raw emotion straight away. but it can be challenging. Doesn't mean it's going to be really tough all the time. Doesn't mean it's going to be hard all the time, but it's definitely going to challenge your perceptions, your foundation of who you, and what you believe. It's not your fault if you're in this situation. It's absolutely, and believe me, it's not your fault. You've done nothing wrong. However, it is your responsibility. Your here and now, everything that preceded it was not your fault. That led to that, and I can help you align everything and understand everything. However, from this point forward, you're the only one that can change. You're the only one that can do anything about it. You're the only one tasked with living your life. You know, you're the only one that can do anything about it. You can get help and support. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But you're the only one that can say, yes, I am going to take the next step. Yes, I'm going to do something about it. And I respect that, and that's fine. I know of a lady down in Cornwall who chose to live with it. Chose to live with her, and it's going back a generation as well, and just stiff up her lip and just get on with it. And that's what I chose. I made my bed, I'm going to sleep in it, lay in it. So when her husband died, she started living her life. That's emotional as well. What was she was 68 and she started living her life because she got married young. It was a narcissist, he was controlling, all this stuff, but that's what you did in those days. You just put up with this stuff. These days we do something slightly different, you know. We have the choice. Okay. It's your responsibility and nobody else's. So that's a tough thing to do. Right, covering help and support. Okay, seeking help and support is obviously really important because this is a particularly new subject, and you're going to question your whole foundation of everything, reality as you know it. So you can talk to friends and family, and that's great, but they probably won't understand the nuances of narcissism, of emotional abuse, and self-esteem. You know, these three, the combination of the three is really, I say it's quite advanced. I've just said that. It's quite advanced, it's quite tricky. I've been studying it for 16 plus years. And it wasn't just that I stumbled on it before, and I was a coach before that. But 16 plus years, and I've made tons of mistakes. You know, I'm learning all the time. So friends and family might not understand the nuances of the stuff. They might also think your partner, you're the luckiest thing, just shut up, go, get on with it, because they have the perception, and the narcissists always like to look good, always like to, you know, have this great appearance of being successful, charming, you know, wonderful, wonderful people. So it might be really challenging for them to see anything slightly differently. It's like, really? I can't imagine that. I can't see that. But also, on the flip side of that, if you start giving examples, like he does this and he makes me do that and he tells me to do that, they might go, girl, that, you know, that's not normal. That doesn't sound normal to me. And then you start to go, okay, I should research that. You know, right, okay, there's a little red flag there. There's a little bit of confirmation that sort of sexual activity or denial or, you know, insistence can be power over. It can be insisting that they're, you know, demanding sexual whatevers, you know, rather than withholding it. So, you know, all those sorts of things. You talk to friends and family and they can say, actually, no, that's not normal. That's really? You have to open up enough to do that. Therapists, counsellors, you can talk to them, but make sure they understand about these three different areas particularly. And if you ask them, they'll probably say yes, you know. But I've found myself directly and with just about all of my clients over the last, and again, I specialise in this stuff, but over the last 16 plus years, that, you know, they've tried counselling, therapists, psychotherapy, and it's fantastic for I was going to say balanced people. None of us are balanced, are they? Are we? But you know, up to a certain level, and then it just didn't go any further, and there was something else. Something was missing, and it was this stuff, this combination for me of the three things. That's why I kind of found it and got really tenacious about it and wanted to keep continuing finding out about it. So therapists are good, and this is changing, but of course therapy and the body of therapists and the board of therapists, and it's learned over, it's like the educational system, because it is, in a way, it's just the higher educational system. This is what we should learn, this is what we're going to learn, and this is what we've learned, and it's not changing rapidly. or rapidly enough. Like the education system isn't changing rapidly enough, and that for me, and this is just my personal opinion, but the experience of others as well, that it's not changing rapidly enough to embody the learnings of the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years about emotional narcissism, emotional abuse, and self-esteem, and how they all tie in together. So it might be really helpful, might not be. Domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is obviously when it gets physical, but however, those people know that preceding, and hopefully again, but it's not really clear, but it usually is, there's a really good understanding that with domestic abuse lines, preceding that is emotional abuse. So they are versed in emotional abuse. However, they're geared up to support people who are in that situation of, threat, imminent physical threat, and they really can't help all the time. If you're not in that situation, they're geared up and designed to help people in that situation, but they've got a ton of resources, and they are useful. So I say that's a great resource for you. Also, Tinternet, the internet is a great place where you get all sorts of information, and it's a case maybe of weaning out and finding out and tuning in to the bits that resonate with you. So find some support where you feel that person knows what they're talking about, and they relate to your subject, to your situation, and you relate to them, and that gives you valuable information. There's more people out there doing this stuff. Okay, so setting boundaries, getting towards the end. Thank you for your time and your listening. Setting boundaries is really important. Okay, but I put exclamation marks next to all of this because if you're the victim, let's call it, and people like to be not labelled as victims, but I'm saying the word because a survivor, is great, but you're charged. You're going to attract another unless you change this stuff. So setting boundaries is really important. But if you have low self-esteem, that's part of the problem that got you into this situation. You find it difficult, you're too agreeable to set boundaries. So setting a boundary in an abusive relationship, no, that is not acceptable. I will not put up with that anymore. And then having a repercussion and a consequence of not doing that is really important. It's like with kids. I'm so agreeable with my kid. I'm a pushover, and that's a nice thing in many ways, but in a relationship, you need to put that and say, no, that's not acceptable. But that's really difficult if you have low self-esteem. Being assertive, asserting for yourself. This is really important to me, and that's why I will not do that. It's really important, and you can get that, but it's really difficult if you have low self-esteem. Seek support. That's really difficult because to seek support is chicken and egg. Why would you seek support when it's actually you're going to seek support for being crap and useless and not good enough and not good enough wife, partner, sexual partner, not clever enough, you're down on yourself. You think they're fantastic. They think they're fantastic as well, and they tell you, but they also tell you how bad you are, and you agree because you think So seeking support is a chicken and egg situation. Why would you do that? You're going to get it for the wrong reasons. But anyway, seeking support can be difficult if you've got low self-esteem. Couple sessions. Many clients that I've had have been to couples therapy, and it's gone really bad. The narcissist will give a good account of themselves, and then actually it's you. Oh God, I hold my hand up. I think I'm not good. Oh, it's awful. The whole point about why they hook you in. They're very smooth operators. They can go to couples therapy and come out looking really good and feel very happy with themselves, and you'll be dragging yourself out in tears, saying, "I knew I was rubbish. I knew this. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's okay. It's okay. Work harder." It's not good because you can only work with, as a therapist, you can only work with what's in the room, and what the narcissist presents is very meticulously thought out and presented. Because they're not open enough to be vulnerable in front of you. In front of a therapist, for example, but they'll give you snippets of it so you can see, I knew you were amazing. I knew you were vulnerable and broken. I can fix you. I can help. And that's one of the hooks for somebody, an empath, somebody that's got low self-esteem, that's hugely caring and a wonderful person. And I mean that genuinely. I think you're a wonderful person if you fit the bill to who I think you are, if you're in this situation. But you put yourself down. And that's why I'm passionate about, helping people out through the other end. So the biggest advice, perhaps, in boundary setting you could do is consider ending the relationship. And I do coaching on that, a 90-day coaching blueprint to get you out, to cut all those ties, and most of them are in your head, with that relationship, because it's toxic to you. But that is really difficult to do if you have low self-esteem, especially if you haven't got support, because you think it's you, you're getting that message. So it is easier to do all those things, set boundaries, be assertive, and to cut ties if it's not working, or to seek help, to do therapy together. It can be a really nice, rewarding thing if you have healthy self-esteem, if your levels of self-esteem, and there's a test, we can do it later, the links are down there, if your levels of healthy self-esteem are at a healthy level, all these things are doable and much easier. You won't get caught out, you won't attract narcissistic relationship. However, if it's low, that's when you attract narcissists. That's when you're the magnet. That's when you're the magnet to attract narcissists. So this is really, really important stuff, and it's about our level of self-esteem. Okay, and we can test that later on. Right, last bit: resources. What resources are there? So this is the end. Thank you so much for your time. Self-esteem test. I've got a self-esteem test that I do. It's completely confidential. It's I don't do it. Sorry, I've automated it. It's from the Rosenberg test. It's back in the 60s, but I find it's not a reliable thing in terms of tested. It's only 10 questions. What's it going to do? It's going to start this conversation for you, and it's going to say, right, is this something relevant to me? Am I am I down on myself too much? Am I, it's a good starting point for a conversation. See what your score is, and it'll explain it there. It's completely confidential. I don't get the email or anything like that. I used to, but then I saw that on the stats that 70% of people stopped at that point. So it's like, crap, I'll take that point out. And it's not a block for anybody. Will's going to be marketing to me. It's like, all right, bollocks. Take that out. It's completely confidential. I never see it. It's a closed link. And it doesn't go anywhere unless you choose then to look at other stuff on my website. But it doesn't go anywhere. No information is being held. Anyway, you get the idea. There's linked down below in the description to, well, you're on the YouTube channel probably, or maybe it's somewhere else. There's links to all the other free resources on my YouTube channel, all linked about this subject. You can read it if you prefer reading. You can. I'll put the link to my blogs, so you can read about all the different aspects that I talk about this subject. If you want to see how you can work with me, I'll give you the link to my website, so you can look at that. If you want to follow me and see, kind of test, am I real? What kind of person am I? All that sort of researching we go and do. Come across somebody going, are they real? Go and do the research. Or if you want to message me via Facebook, then I'll put the link to that. If you want to subscribe to my emails, I'll put the link to that. So those are the resources that I provide. Like I've said, I've listed out the other resources that are available to you. Go and find the ones that help you, that link to you, that relate to you. Thank you. Only 30, almost 8 minutes. So thank you so much for giving your time. If you obviously made it this far, so consider subscribing if you haven't, because and liking and subscribing on YouTube is really important, because it's the life or death of this subject and of this video getting to the next person that the algorithm says might be relevant. And so many people, I hope you can see this, so many people are affected by this subject that don't realise it and would never realise it. They're absolutely blinkered by no fault of their own to away from this subject. So thank you so much for taking the time to digest this stuff, to go through this stuff. Do ask me any questions or give me any comments on this. I'd be really interested to hear from you. Please do share this, and it's a great thing, service you can give me by liking it and subscribing to the channel. Thank you, and I hope this helps you in some way, shape or form. All right, many thanks. Bye bye.